They stopped calling me mother before they stopped calling me human. First, it was whispers. Then, it was distance. Then one morning, I woke up and realized no one had spoken my name in 3 days. Not my real name, not the name my mother gave me, only the other one. Fear invents when it needs somewhere to live. They called me a witch at 84 years old, after everything. And I want to tell you something today, not to make you feel sorry for me, but because what happened to me is happening in families everywhere he read. And most people do not see it until it is too late. My name is Amina. I was born in a village where the harmattan comes early and stays long. I have watched 84 dry seasons strip the leaves from the same trees. I have buried a husband. I have buried 2 children. I have buried neighbors I used to share food with. And I am still here. I raised 6 children on a farm that gave us good years and terrible years. And we survived all of them. I carried water. I ground pepper. I plaited hair. I sat with sick women through their worst nights. I prayed at the graves of people I loved more than I will ever be able to say. When I was young, they called me hardworking. When I was middle-aged, they called me wise. When I grew old, they called me something else. And I have been sitting with that, quietly thinking, remembering, trying to understand what changed, not in me, but in the way they saw me. It started with my grandson. He fell sick, a fever that would not leave. I have seen fevers before. I have sat beside them. I have prayed over them. But this one frightened people. And when people are frightened, they look for not always the true reason, sometimes just a reason. That is easy. Someone said, they dreamed of me. That was enough. That is all it took. One person's dream. And suddenly my whole life, every sacrifice, every prayer, every morning, I rose before dawn to do something for this family. None of it counted anymore. A dream replaced 80 years of truth. I am telling you this not to make you hate the person who said it. I am telling you this because I want you to understand something important. Fear does not look for evidence. Fear looks for someone it can afford to blame. And the old woman living alone in the corner of the compound, she is always affordable. The strangest thing was not the neighbors. I expected less from strangers. What I did not expect was my daughter-in-law, stopped greeting me in the morning, not rudely, just quietly, the way people do when they have already decided something about you, but want to pretend they have not. My son, the one I nearly died delivering, he started looking past me when he spoke, not at me, past me, like I was becoming a shape instead of a person. My grandchildren, who used to fight to sit beside me, were told to stay away. No one said it directly. No one announced it. That is the cruelest part. It was done in silence. And silence can wound deeper than any word, because when someone shouts at you, you know what they feel. But when they go quiet, when they remove you from conversations, from meals, from decisions, from warmth, you start to wonder if you ever truly belong. I would sit outside in the evening watching the fire, listening to voices I used to sit among, and I would think, when did I become a stranger in a life I helped build? My mornings are slow. The sun comes up. I fold my wrapper. I wash my face from a small basin. I sit, I watch the light move across the dirt. Some days, a child wanders close. I don't reach for them anymore. I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable. That is what this does to a person. It teaches you to shrink, to disappear, before they can push you away. My hands, these hands that kneaded dough and planted seeds and held newborn heads, they mostly hold nothing. Now, I pray, I remember, and I talk to God, because at least there, I have not been accused of anything. But even in the silence, I have been thinking, not about revenge, not about bitterness, about truth. Because when everything else is stripped away, when they take your company, your dignity, your name, what remains? Only what is real. And I have had a long time to find out what is real. Pain will do one of two things. To a person, it will make them close. Or it will make them clear. I chose clear because I did not survive 84 years. Burying people I loved, working land that did not always love me back, praying through seasons that answered, slowly did not. All of that. I am not bitter. I am awake. And I want to speak to you. Now, not as someone begging for pity, as a woman who has lived long enough to see how things end. I have watched how families treat their old people, and then I have watched those same families grow old themselves. And what comes around does not always come gently. So sit with me a moment. Let me tell you what I have learned, not from books, from living. The first thing I want you to understand, fear is not the same as truth. When someone is sick, when something goes wrong, when life turns painful, people need an explanation. An old woman living alone, an old woman who moves slowly and speaks little, an old woman who carries the weight of years. On her face she becomes an easy explanation. But easy is not the same as true. Before you believe a rumor about someone, oldest yourself. Did this person love you once? Did they sacrifice something for you? Did they carry weight for this family? If the answer is yes, be careful. Fear should never be allowed to overwrite a lifetime of truth. The second thing, old age is not a curse. I do not know when it became something to be suspicious of. When I was young, old people were honored. Their hands were respected. Their silence was listened to. Their presence was a blessing. Now, I see old people hidden, put away, spoken about, rather than spoken to, made to feel that their years are a burden rather than a gift. That is not wisdom. That is fear, wearing a mask. The third thing, the person you neglect today may have been the one who once carried you. I do not say this to shame you. I say this because it is true, and people forget when you were sick as a small child, who sat with you. When there was no food, who went without so you could eat. When you needed school fees, a hand, a word, a prayer, who was there. The same hands you now avoid, the same eyes you no longer meet. Memory is short when it suits us. But those who are old, remember. They remember everything. The fourth thing, loneliness, kills before sickness does. I have seen it. I have felt it beginning in my own chest. That slow cold that has nothing to do with the weather. When a person stops being spoken to, something in them starts to die. Not the body first, the spirit. And once the spirit goes quiet, the body follows. Do not think isolation is a small thing. Do not think it costs nothing to remove an old person from warmth, from voice, from touch. It costs them everything. The fifth thing, if you want peace in your old age, practice mercy. I have watched people who were cruel to the elderly in their youth, and I have watched them grow old, and the word returned to them. What they sent out, not always immediately, but eventually the children who watched them dismissed their grandparents. Those children grew up learning that the old are disposable. And one day they apply that lesson to their own parents. You teach your children how to treat you by how they watch you treat others. That is not a threat. That is a pattern I have watched repeat itself for 84 years. The sixth thing, a society that honors the old. Old people are not just people who lived long. They are records. They are memory. They are the ones who remember how they used to look, how their family used to be. When you silence an old person, you are not silencing weakness. You are silencing a library. And once it burns, you cannot rebuild it from rumor. The seventh thing, and this one I want you to carry. Be careful how you treat those who can no longer defend themselves. I cannot run. I cannot shout. I cannot fight a dream that someone had about me. I can only sit and wait and remember and speak when someone will listen. The fact that a person cannot fight back does not mean they are wrong. It often only means they are tired. And tired people deserve protection, not punishment. Young people, I want to speak to you directly. Now, not with anger, with the kind of love that is only possible when you no longer have anything to pretend. Do not wait until your mother grows frail before you decide if her life has value. Do not wait until your father walks slowly before you treat him like a burden. Old people are not less human because they need help. They are not less wise because they speak slowly. They are not less worthy because they are tired. The wrinkles on my face are not a curse. They are the proof of a life fully lived. Every line is a year. Every year had mornings in it, and tears, and prayers, and decisions made in the dark with no one watching. When you look at an old person and feel fear or disgust or impatience, look again. Look more carefully, because that old person was once exactly your age, standing where you are standing, feeling what you feel, hoping for what you hope, and life moved the way it always does, the way it is already moving for you. I am not asking you to pity me. I am asking you to see me, and in seeing me, to see your own future. Because if life is kind to you, if you are given years enough, you too will grow old. And on that day, you will want someone to see you. truly see you, not as a problem, not as a fear, not as a name to whisper, but as a human being who carried their life with everything they had. I am not a witch. I am a woman who loved her family. Before she fully understood that love can be answered with silence. I am a woman who worked this earth and asked very little in return. I am a woman who is still here, still breathing, still thinking, still choosing every single day to use whatever voice I have left for something that matters. They took many things from me, my reputation, my comfort, the easy mornings, the evening conversations, but they could not take what I know. And what I know is this: no accusation can erase a life. No rumor can undo a truth. And no amount of silence can stop a woman from speaking when she still has something worth saying. So do not remember me as the woman they accused. Remember me as the woman who still chose to tell the truth. That is all I have, and I give it freely because that is what we do. Those of us who were raised to believe that love is not a transaction. We give even when it is not returned. We speak even when no one seems to be listening, because somewhere someone is, and if that someone is you, then none of this was wasted. Go well, be kind, and do not wait until you are old to understand what kindness costs.